Good morning, everyone. Happy almost New Year. It is the day after Christmas, and I have been waiting to do this video. I'm so excited. This is going to be a Techo Kaigi of all of the planners that I have used for 2024, or at least most of them. There are a couple little ones that came in and out of my life very quickly that I'm not going to include here. So I'm going to do full flip throughs of my main planners and memory keepers, as well as my health planner and my ink journal. So before I get into the main ones, I'm going to just do the other kind of more fleeting ones or shorter ones first. So the first one is my ink journal for 2024. This is a Wonderland222 A6 notebook, and this was a sticker I received in a pen or ink trade. I was going to use this originally for Bible study, so that's why there's some like Bible stickers there, but let me zoom in here. The way that I had this notebook set up was in the beginning of the book, I had all of my currently inked. And if I would change things mid-month like you saw there, I would do 2 currently inked for that month, just so that I could keep track of all of the pen and ink combos that I had. This is how I determined what my favorites were of the year. I went back through and put like little hearts next to the ones that I remember loving or having a great experience with or being my favorites. So I loved this color palette and this one. September was probably overall September was my favorite month of currently inked pens. I forgot to do October, so I'm missing a month, which is a real bummer, but oh well, it is what it is. And then after this section, I had intended to do a section swatching all of my bottled inks. And I do have most of them in here, but I am missing my most recent purchases. So I'm missing a few, but I'm not going to go back and add them because I am setting up a new ink journal for 2025, just because I felt like the A5 was a little bit too small. And also I only left enough room in each of the sections for 2024, except for this middle section. I mean, I do have a lot of extra pages here and I will repurpose them, but not for an ink journal. So then I did a little note in here of my pen awards, which is a video that I posted. You can check that out if you want. And then in the back section, I listed all of my pens at the top, and then I listed when I changed the ink in them and what the ink was. And I did like a little heart rating system, 5 hearts being the like highest score and 1 heart being the lowest score. So I was pretty consistent with this, but I do know that there were times when I did not update this, so it's not a complete accurate picture. Next year, one of my goals is to really be a lot more consistent with this, because I do find it very interesting to see how often I inked a pen, if there's like a certain color that I always put in a pen, how long an ink stays in a pen, and that kind of thing. You can see my Asvine B126 was very well loved and used pretty much since the time I got it until the end of the year. And then like this one, we can see I changed the ink quite frequently. So it's kind of cool to go back and be able to see that data. What I am going to change during this next ink journal for 2025 is I'm going to include the date inked and the date cleaned, because it's hard for me to tell here if I had, you know, Beaver Dam Brown inked up from 9/12 to 11/1, or if I had cleaned it out sometime in between and then re-inked it after the fact. So I'm going to include that. And then I'm also including, it's an A5 book, so it'll have a lot more space on the page. So yeah, this is all of my pens. You can see my Benmu Talisman. This was my birthday pen, and I've had it inked ever since I got it. It has never been uninked, and you can see that primarily I've put a lot of teal inks in it. So yeah. So my new ink notebook is going to be set up largely the same with the same kind of sections, except for I don't think I'm going to be swatching my ink bottles in that notebook, but we'll see. And I'll have a video about that in the new year. So that is my ink journal. The next sort of auxiliary journal or planner that was not a main planner for me was this Hobonichi Cousin, which was my workout and health tracker slash journal. I did start this in April. This is a spring start cousin, and I do have a video of this. I had the best of intentions for this, but I did not end up keeping up with it, and I will tell you why, but let me just tell you what each section was used for. This was a period tracker. That's Jocko Willink, if you know him. He's awesome. I love him. This was my health habit tracker, as well as sleep and energy tracker. And you can see for the first 3 months, I was super duper consistent, even the 4th month. And then in August, I just kind of stopped tracking. And again, it just became that this book was like a little too much book for me. And as well at work, there was a big shift in my work duties and tasks. And it was very, very overwhelming and just like time consuming and just kind of like sucked all the energy out of me. So I started to fall off my health routine. So yeah, that's kind of what happened here. But while I used it, it was great. And I think if you need a full daily page for one specific topic, like I was using this book for, then it would be great. But the daily pages just became too much and I didn't need them and I didn't ever write in them. And so I just stopped this book and shifted into a traveler's notebook system. But so I did keep my habits here. I had my total weight workouts for the month. And then in the monthlies, I would keep track of my average calories, and then so average calories and average steps for the week on the side, and then everyday steps, exercise minutes, and then my macros, carbs, fat, and protein. And then highlighted in the yellow were the days that I did a weightlifting workout at the gym. So this was a very functional view and layout for me. And I did this primarily to be able to show my doctor, because I was working with my doctor trying to figure out, you know, how to manage my health symptoms. I do have PCOS, and so trying to figure out how to manage that, and just showing her exactly what I was doing so that she was able to see that, like, I'm eating in a calorie deficit. I'm getting over 10K steps a day on average. Unless I was sick, like that week I was sick. So I only had 6,000 a day average, but for the most part, around 10,000 a day average. I was doing so many weightlifting workouts, and I was eating within the macros that I should have been eating. So like, if she can see that I'm doing all that, then obviously something else needed to be changed or helped, because it wasn't just the basic, well, you're eating too much or you're not moving enough type of thing. So that was helpful. I did have like a meeting with her, and she basically looked at it and said, "You're doing everything right, just keep going," which was kind of discouraging to me, because I wanted like a different, you know, I wanted more help than that. So that was another part of this that I was like, well, I'm not going to be taking as detailed of notes in this book, because it just kind of seemed like a waste of time at that point. Anyways, I digress. In the weekly views, at first, I was writing down everything that I was eating throughout the day, as well as the highlighted portions were my energy levels. So I was trying to ascertain whether my energy was directly related to the foods that I was eating. And then I also had the day of my cycle at the top. So I was trying to see if that was also related. So I did keep up with that. I was really sick this week, so I had a very low energy. So yeah, I kept up with that for some time, and then I just kind of stopped doing that. I don't know, I just felt like it was, I also was tracking my food and still track my food in my Fitness Pal. So to write it down here, I was just kind of like, oh, this is a bit redundant. And I didn't really find a lot of correlations that were making it worthwhile for me to keep doing that. So I stopped doing that. And then in the daily section, I started the turn the page to the new year with like a little vision board. I had every day I was trying to journal about health related things. I would keep my list of the same habits that I was tracking in this section here. I would also write them down here. I would write little sections sometimes on like my hormone protocol, my supplements that I was taking. If I was listening to a podcast related to health, I would take podcast notes. And then the rest of it was just journaling about how I was feeling, what symptoms I was having. I tried a new like mushroom coffee, so I put that in there. And at the beginning, I was also writing the day of like the journey. So I considered myself starting this journal as like day one. Because I wasn't really in a super great routine before that. So I was like all in doing this. So I had the days at the top, which was really motivating to me. And for a while, I felt like I did have things to say in here and things to, you know, put in here. But after a while, I just felt like there was really nothing to say. So I think I kept up with this section the longest out of any section in this book. I listened to this great podcast of the Huberman podcast with Casey Means. She had some great information about our metabolism, mitochondria, like how easily we can actually change our body and our biomarkers by just doing small achievable like daily changes. If I had like a particularly active day, I would put a screenshot of that from my Apple. Sometimes I would just have quotes in here that were inspiring to me. And then around this time, I was struggling. I did go back and like back plan a lot of these days. Like this day, I just wrote back workout. That was totally a back plan. These days, I just wrote the day at the top. This was back planned. Just from what I can remember, like a lot of these were back planned. So at this point, I tried to do a different thing so that I would be more inspired to use the daily pages. So I tried to do energy, physical symptoms, mental, emotional, and stress level. This day I also added sleep, it looks like. I only did that for a few days. And then after, yeah, it was like in this time that I just completely stopped. I just started writing in the day at the top in just pen. This was another podcast. So yeah, this is where it ended, 8:23. So I have some like sheets in here from my doctor. And then I also was tracking my podcasts that I had listened to, or health-related podcasts or self-improvement podcasts back there. But I also stopped that when I stopped the book. So I have a lot of pages in here still, and I would like to go back and use this like for podcast notes or just health notes in general, but so far it's been sitting on the shelf and I have not used it since then. I mean, I think it was beneficial to me in that it really did get me back on a routine. It got me like tracking good information that was helpful. But once I was in the pattern of doing that, I started to feel like, why am I still tracking this? Like, is it still useful to me at this point? So that was something that I had to reevaluate. And then I ended up moving into the Paper Test Designs weekly notebook. And at first I was using this as a main planner, but then I started using it again as a workout or health tracker. I like this so much better because it has spots for everything that I want to keep track of in here, and it doesn't have all the extra daily pages that I don't really need at this point. So on this section here, I put any activity I did that day, any exercise. This section here, I put any kind of physical symptoms I was having. So lately I've been having like a lot of asthma symptoms, which is not typical for me. So I've been noting that. I write my Bible study that I do for the day. Over here, I do my sleep hours and energy levels. This is the day of the cycle. Steps, protein, carbs, calories, and then mood. And then down here, I'll just put whatever. So I was going really good, and then I got bronchitis. So, and now this is the week of Christmas, and I'm still kind of recovering from bronchitis because I have asthma. It takes a lot longer for my lungs to kind of get better. So yeah, this is what I'm using. This is what I also will be using for 2025 for health tracking. I'm going to be using it in the same exact way, and I'm really loving that. Okay, so as for my main planners, well, first of all, let me say my work planners, I just used Astrology in the beginning of the year, and now I'm using a Plum Paper Daily. Nothing exciting there, which is why I'm not going to show them. I can't even find the Astrology right now. I would have to cover everything up because it's kind of, I don't know if it's like super confidential, but I just wouldn't want to expose anything that I shouldn't. So I'm not going to show that, but that's what I've been using for work. It's just like a daily list of things that I need to do. So nothing too crazy or exciting. So anyways, I started the year with my main planner in the Wonderland222. This is the B6, and I think it's like called the mulberry colorway. This is the color. I love all my stickers I had on here. I'm going to try and like take these two off and use them next year because I just love them so much. And I, in general, really loved this book as well. I had a kind of mood board here at the beginning. This page I used to note any of my work holidays and then any of my daughter's school holidays. This calendar I also used to note like when I took a sick day or a PTO day. And then I think these brown ones were the days that my daughter left school early. She was having like migraines, so we figured it out, but there were a lot of days where she started to leave school early. So this section I was also trying to use as a health tracker with my calories, my steps. This was before I went into the Hobonichi Cousin. I didn't really like this layout. I felt like it looked too crowded for the amount of information that I wanted to keep in here. So that's why I did not continue on with that. But I love how many sections this planner has for tracking and how much space there is to track different things in here. Then you go into the actual trackers. The first notes page here, I turned into a debt tracker. I did not keep up with this. I did pay off all of these, so that was awesome. And it was motivating for me while I used it to like go in and mark off each payment that I was making. So I really like that. And I will do another one of these for 2025 as I do still have a few new things and some of my credit cards still that need to be paid off. So I'm going to do that again. Then in this section was just a regular habit tracker. At first, I was tracking the same things that I tracked in my Hobonichi Cousin because it was before the Cousin. But after I started using the Cousin, I tracked different things in here than I did in there because I didn't want to be tracking the same thing in both places. So yeah, I really enjoyed the trackers while I was in here. I love these trackers. I think it's so cool that they're already set up in here. And yeah, this is just a really cool planner. These were my words of the year. And then it went into December. So these are the weeklies. It is the stacked version. I don't think they had unstacked last year, so that wasn't even an option. But I did not mind the weekends being stacked. It was never an issue for me. And I really loved, I wonder if these things are still true. My ink wish list. I just really loved this planner. I would do all of my tasks and my appointments and everything in the weekly view, which I also continued doing when I moved into the Cousin as my main planner. I forgot that I had COVID in January. Yeah, so that was good for a while, but it started to feel very overwhelming in terms of just the page being very busy and feeling like there wasn't really enough room. I started to feel very cramped in the timeline kind of layout. So I love these pages. I love like looking back through these. I think that they were like decorated really cute, and I love seeing all the different ink colors. Like I just really did enjoy this book while I was in it. I loved that week. That was cute. And then after May, that was it, it looks like. And then in September, I tried to come back and use this as a Bible study companion book, but I don't think I got very far, obviously. So then in the notes pages, this was where I had a really hard time with this book. Oops, turn it. I had bought this book. This was the all-in-one, so it had 365 back pages. And I bought it with the intention of using a day per page. However, when I was using the weeklies and I started to do all my tasks in the weekly pages, this section kind of became like no man's land for me. I didn't really know what to put back here. I tried a lot of different things. As you can see, I tried workout logs. I just tried like more collection style stuff. I tried thankful lists. I tried a lot of things, but nothing really, ink notes, nothing really felt good. And I felt like this section had no clear purpose. And that unsettled me. I don't know why. Like, it's just blank paper. Like, it shouldn't have bothered me that I didn't have a clear purpose for this section. But in my mind, I am the type of person that wants to have a well-defined plan for each part of my planner. I tried using it as a daily page. I didn't like that. Sermon notes. That was some random work notes. I don't know why that was in there. More sermon notes, to-do list, hormone balance plan, more currently inked. So yeah, just the fact that I didn't feel like I had a good plan for this section made me unsettled in here even more so. And then at the same time, I was feeling very cramped in the weekly portion of it with my task list. And so at this point was when I decided that I needed a bigger book. So I moved out of this. Also, the spine had started to break. You can't see because I covered it with washi, and you can kind of see from the top, but like this whole part of the spine was coming apart. So I also didn't want to like continue using it through the end of the year and just have it like be completely in shambles. You can see I only used it until, oh, here was a day where I was trying to use it for my Bible study. But I only truly used it until May. So yeah. I was sad to say goodbye to this book, but I was really excited to move into this book, which is the Hobonichi Cousin Hone. And this is the botanical design. I forget the artist, but I'm sure you guys know if you're watching this. Is it on here? I don't think so. Anyways, so I did have this in a clear cover for the majority of the year, and then I moved it into my Moterm A5 cover. That's why it looks so clean. It would not be this clean had it been uncovered this whole year. But, so yeah, after the Wonderland222, I moved straight into here, and I used the sections largely the same way I use this for days off. I had a bill note section in here that I would refer to every month for paying my bills. I moved my debt tracker over here. I moved my trackers over here, but then again in July, that was when work changed, so I stopped. I really fell off of tracking. Like I just had no bandwidth for tracking. So I left all the previous monthlies blank in here. And then I moved in the month of May. So that was my first monthly. And I just loved how much space was in here. It was just so awesome. I loved being in the Cousin. I really, truly enjoyed this book so much all year long since I started using it. And then in November is when I moved into the Traveler's Notebook. And I moved into the Traveler's Notebook not because I didn't love this book. I can't actually tell you what the reason was. There was nothing wrong with this system. I just really fell in love with the Traveler's Notebook system, and I wanted to use it and I wanted to try it. And I really wanted to stay in here and fill this book up till the end of the year, which I did in the daily pages, but not in the monthly or weeklies. So at least I did accomplish that because I wanted, you know, the bulk of my year's memories to be in this book. So yeah. I did still fill out like appointments in December, but that was it. And then when we go into the weeklies, I didn't have anything in the weeklies until May, which is when I started the book. And again, it just felt so great to have all of this space in my weekly pages to write down all of my tasks and appointments. And this was the page that I had open on my desk every day. This was the view that I would have it open to so that I could see, you know, what I was doing each day and all of that. I loved putting in all these stickers. I just really loved decorating these weekly pages. I had tried using a Hobonichi Cousin in the past, and I never could really find my groove or my style in the weekly pages. And this year, I really feel like I did. I just enjoyed them so much. This week I tried breaking up the sections to be like defined sections for different things. And I did that for, I think, 3 weeks. And it was fine, but I just went back to what I was doing after that. And then I believe this was the week that I moved into the Traveler's Notebook. I did go in and like back plan this one because I was still trying to keep everything in this book as well. But I stopped back planning after the second week of November in the weeklies. So that was fine. I had a really good long run in there. And then as for the daily pages, I obviously had a lot of extra daily pages since I didn't start this book until May. And I did use them a lot for inky things. The first section was some journaling prompts that I found on Instagram, and I liked them, so I put them in there. I did my mild liner collection, my Tombow collection. This was a ink order that I did, so I swatched that in there. I was trying to do a curly hair routine. I did write my currently inked in here for the majority of the year, like for my YouTube videos. This is where I would do it just because the paper is so good and there was a lot of space in here. This, I was comparing my light brown inks to each other. More currently inked. I just really love to write out my currently inked a lot of times, apparently. So I did that in this section. These were all mixes that I have made, and I was just going through them trying to remember what I had made and hopefully use them on this page. And then this was an ink trade from Sherry, and she sent me some beautiful inks, a lot of Birmingham inks to try. September currently inked. Just some notes. This was the video that I did on my favorite fall inks, so that's on my channel if you want to see that. This, I wanted to compare all the rose inks that I have, or at least some of the rose inks that I have. This is Ferris Wheel Press Spadina Rose. This is Diamine Ink Vent Wilted Rose from this year. This is Cashmere Rose from last year, and this is Taranishi Opera Rose. So they're all very different, as you can see. I think Wilted Rose and Opera Rose are the most similar to each other. But, yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing. This was an ink trade, inks that I received. More currently inked. This was me comparing Forest Gateau of this year's ink vent to Bah Humbug of last year's ink vent. They're similar, but Forest Gateau is a lot more berry toned, and Bah Humbug has more of like a red-black kind of tone. And then, yeah, just playing around with other ink vent inks. More currently inked. This was the page of all of the ink vent from this year. I also did a video creating this page, opening up all of the inks. So if you would like to see that, it is on my channel. More currently inked. This was another brown ink comparison. I just love the light to mid tone brown inks, and I have quite a few of them now, so I wanted to compare them all. It's so interesting to me how they are all so different. For all being like a light to medium brown ink, they're all so different. So and this was my latest December currently inked. This was my favorite inks of 2024. This was the last video I did. So I like that I have a lot of my like YouTube videos that I've done in this book. And next year they will all be in my ink book. So anytime I do a video like this next year, I'm going to try and do it in my ink book so that I have more of a complete record in there. This, I don't know what I was doing, just messing around with pens. And then that's kind of where I left off until I'm more currently inked, just randomly. And then this was when I moved into the planner, but these first several pages were all back plans, I think until May 18th, and then we get into my daily pages. And I was very, very, very consistent in this book. I daily journaled every day, if not, you know, every other day. I would maybe go back and do 1 or 2 pages at a time, but mostly every day at night I was in this book just writing about my day. I did put my to-do list on the daily pages as well sometimes, but not always. This was my birthday. My daughter and I went to the beach, and so that was just all pictures and memories. Obviously, I was using a lot of stickers and all of my pens, and I got my Epson 2880 printer this year. I think I got it on like Prime Day or something. And that printer has just been like the coolest thing for me. I've always wanted to print pictures and put them in my journals, and I just never have had a printer. Like, I've had them at work, but not at home. And so, yeah, I was so excited to get that and start including pictures in here. And I did a lot of that, but a lot of them obviously too were just stickers or just writing, just depending on if I had a picture to print for that day. This was me trying to figure out what ink to put in a new pen. My sister gave me this little love seat, so I moved like a lot of my furniture around, and I just thought it looked really cute, so I took pictures of that. I would print pictures out from like Instagram or Pinterest that I liked and put them in here just for decoration. Some days I would just put pictures in here, and I can remember like everything about these days just from these pictures. And so I knew that if I put the pictures in here, I wouldn't forget. So I intended to go back and write in some information, which I still want to do that. I'll probably do that like this week and just fill in like some context. This is a little dog I dog sit, and I love him so much. I want to dachshund so much now. I started doing like a lot of collages on Pinterest. So yeah, this year, this book has a lot of memories from this year. And like I've said before, I have a horrible memory. So I'm sure I would forget about a lot of these if I didn't have this book. So I really do treasure this book. And just all the record keeping that I have in here. I was babysitting Remy again. I love him. Oh my goodness. I had jury duty this year. I subscribed to Cat Collage Club this year, which I love so much. I started getting into Patreon a lot this year. My sister got some piercings, so we went with her. There were just like a couple days that are blank, either because nothing really happened. Yeah, that's basically it. Nothing really happened to write about of note. I started to get really into TN. Obviously, towards the end of this year in November, my sister got me my first actual traveler's notebook, Passport. And the other ones I have are like not Travelers Company brand. So I was really excited to get that. And she's all into it now too. And then this last week I've been so sick, but finally starting to get better, thank God. And this was yesterday, Christmas. And this is today. So I only have a few pages left. And honestly, I am getting so nostalgic to leave this book. It's very thick. You can see I did not spare any stickers. It did not get as thick as like I've seen some people's get, but it's pretty thick. I loved this book so much, and I'm so happy that I had it. So that was that one. And then also throughout the year, I've also been using this original A6 Hobonichi Techo. I used this in combination with, oops, sorry, just hit the camera. I used this in combination with the Wonderland222 when I was using that as my memory keeper at that point, because I didn't have a memory keeper. So I probably should have showed this before the cousin, but I was trying to use this for scripture reading section, but I just never kept up with it. This section I was going to do like one thing a day that happened, but again, I did not keep up with that. I just kept forgetting to go back to it. But the daily pages is where I did really good at staying consistent during the beginning of the year. When I had no other memory keeper, this was it, and I stayed pretty consistent with it. I also liked this size for memory keeping. I felt like it was big enough just to do like mainly like bullet points. I couldn't really write a lot in here, but I did a lot of bullet points and just main events of the day. So I really enjoyed this one as well. But it became redundant when I got the cousin, so oh, this was the day that I got my printer, March 22nd. And this is the day that I got the Asbeen, March 27th. And I love that Asbeen pen. Arabella and I would play this game on Roblox. It was like a dress-up game. This was when I started my health cousin. I'm glad that I can see that in May I had bronchitis and in December I had bronchitis. Interesting. I usually don't get that sick twice in a year. And then in January I had COVID, so yikes. And then, yeah, this was around the time where I got the cousin. So what I decided to do was I really wanted to fill out this book and continue using this book because it had all my memories from the first part of the year that the cousin didn't have, and I wasn't going to go back plan everything in the cousin. So I tried to back plan this book for a while, or not back plan, but plan in the cousin and this book at the same time. And I did pretty good with that, but then I decided it was just too redundant. Like, I didn't need to be doing both. So I decided that I would just do kind of highlights, like the main things in the year that I took pictures of or that I wanted to remember, like my birthday. You know, I put both in this book and my cousin. New pen days. Just anytime I printed out pictures for my cousin, I would usually also print out pictures for this book. Just to have a full, complete record of the year in this book as well. My daughter's first day of work. Oh, she's so big. Work is absolutely insane, and I am exhausted. This was when everything changed at work. So yeah, she did her first behind the wheel lesson. I would put a lot of my ink trades and letters from ink friends in this book when I received them. Arabella started saying this, and then I noticed everyone else was saying it online too, so I just put it in there. I thought it was funny. She got her license. This was a big year for Arabella. So yeah, I'm really glad that I kept up with this book as well. I'm just glad that I have like the whole year consolidated in one book as far as memories. Obviously, this one is not as detailed in the latter half, but that's okay. The pictures do take me like right back to what was going on. So, it was her birthday. So yeah, there are a lot of blank pages in here because nothing really exciting happened on that day. This day, my sister and I went to Old Town and just walked around and shopped. This was my mommy's birthday. This was another ink trade with Gail, and I have her letter in there. This was Thanksgiving. I just put in pictures of the food. This day I took a bunch of pictures of my TNs, and so I put them in there, and then we went to get Everbowl. This was another note from Gail. This was an ink swap with Ashley and the card that she sent me with that. This was when my sister gave me the passport. My daughter hurt herself and we had to go to urgent care. My friend at work sent me this awesome set of teas, and my daughter and I went to a new coffee shop. Me and my sister and my daughter went to this coffee shop. I have bronchitis again. This is a postcard I got from Gail. And then this was Christmas Eve and Christmas. So again, I have completed this book almost. I just have a few more days, and this is how chunky it got from, you know, pasting stuff in there almost every day. So I think that that's a pretty nice little chunk, and I am also so happy to have this as an archive. After I moved out of the cousin and into Traveler's Notebook, I was in a different Traveler's Notebook cover, like a Moterm one. But I also had this one, which is also a Moterm. This is the Veg Tan, but I was in another Moterm one. And anyways, I was keeping this Veg Tan and I was going to start the year with it, but I just couldn't wait. So I moved all my books in here, but I actually think I might move it back. This for me feels really chunky, and I don't know if I want like a heavier chunky book. I kind of like the slimmer profile of just having it in this kind of cover, which honestly both of them have 4 books in there right now, and they're both chunky. Like, they're both chunky, definitely, but this feels a lot lighter and just kind of more manageable to hold in the hand than this one does. So I don't know. I love it. It's beautiful. I think that there will be times throughout the year when I want to move into this or move all my books into this. But I think right now for the new year, I'm going to move everything back into the other cover. So anyways, I have this, I'm not going to go through this actually. I've already done like a flip through of it, but I just kind of wanted to show you that I moved into some paper test booklets for my main planning system after I moved out of the Cousin in November. So I have a monthly insert there, and then I have a Traveler's Notebook weekly insert, which I have been using for several weeks. And I love this. It's an undated insert from them. I really, really love this insert, but I have a paper test insert that I'll be moving into for next year that's fully dated for the whole year. So I will do a walkthrough of this when the time comes, but this is what I've been using for my weekly planning. And then this is my daily planning, where I've just kind of been using this the same way that I use the daily pages in the Cousin. So this is like a third area that I have been planning in, because like I said, I did not want to abandon the Cousin's daily pages, but I also wanted to like break into the system and just figure out how I liked using the system and how I wanted to do my dailies in here. And I am really liking it. So yeah, this is what I've been using since I left the Cousin. So since November, but the bulk of the year was in the Cousin. So that is it, my friends. I also have this one. This holds my health tracker, which I already showed, my commonplace book, and then I have in here a onion skin paper book, which I'm just using to write down like thoughts, more like a journal-ish space. But I haven't been super consistent in that, but I do love that paper and I love writing on it. And then just back here, not attached to anything, is a sticker release paper book. So that is what I have in there. So that's it. That's my Techo Kaigi. I feel like I did really good this year in terms of staying consistent, even though I did planner hop a couple times. I did stay consistent for a lot of the time in the books that I had, and I'm hoping to stay consistent next year while allowing for myself to try and experiment with new things if I feel drawn to. And yeah, I learned that I do love the Cousin, and I could live in the Cousin for an all-in-one book. Like I could do that. It has everything that I need. But also I really love the Traveler's Notebook system, and this also has everything that I could need as well. Like I love that it's kind of like a build your own system. You get to choose what books you have in here, and they're interchangeable, so you can change them throughout the year. You can change your covers throughout the year. So I really do love that about this. I learned that this book here is probably a little bit too small unless it is tracking one specific thing. For memory keeping, I feel like this was good, but I also felt like I wanted to keep my memory keeping in with my main system as well, or at least like close to it, and not have a completely separate book. So I probably wouldn't get another one of these, at least for a memory keeping purpose. I learned that the Cousin was way too big to only use for one thing, i.e. health tracking for me in this case. I feel like this is more of an all-in-one type of system, so I would not do that again. And I also learned that I love the Hones. I love the Hone edition of the Hobonichi. I love the hardcover. I feel like this is such a solid feeling book that, yeah, I really, really enjoyed just the tactile experience, the space in this book, and just how all-encompassing it was. It truly did feel like a life book to me. So I would not be surprised if I were to go back to this in the future at some point. But just right now, my heart is with the TN system. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for sticking with me. I know this was a super long video. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful week, and I'd love to hear any comments or questions down below. I thank you guys for being here and for a wonderful year of just sharing my little hobby on YouTube. I'm really appreciative to be having this conversation with you all. So have a wonderful day and take care, and I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.